Welcome to the Fantasy Football Clown Show. I'm Ed, along with Brad and Justin in the chairs. Would like you to hit the subscribe button, the like button, as that helps the algorithms for us. And if you'd be kind enough to put your comments or any questions in the comment section, that would be great as well. We'll try to get to as many of those as we can. Starting out with just some of the things going down in the last few days trade-wise. Just wanted to attack it right from the tippy top of the show today. Looking at some of the trades that went down recently in the last day or so. Did you guys catch the Calvin Ridley or Zach Moss, Naheem Hines, or Jeff Wilson trades? I feel like those are like small trades that might feel under the radar for some, but definitely for the fantasy environment, and especially in the ClownHead leagues, where everything's so deep and ultra sensitive, hypersensitive. I feel like those trades are going to be big in our world. Just like kind of open up the floor and ask Justin, what were your takeaways from some of those trades?
Oh man, it's been a nuts today. My phone's been blowing up the last 3 or 4 hours, trade after trade. Some of these trades are, most of them, I don't think will be too much impactful. Like the first one I want to say is the T.J. Hawkinson trade. I think it's kind of a neutral move for him. About the same caliber quarterback, a better wide receiver core, in my opinion, in Minnesota than in Detroit. So I can pretty much see him consistently getting 5 to 8 targets a game in that range. But his big games, like this past week, he had a pretty good game, and a few weeks ago where he put up I think 30 in one of my home leagues, and that's really, really high point PPR. So I think it's pretty much a neutral move, considering that Irv Smith is going to be out for a while.
A lot. What do you think, Brad? Any other trades? We can even pull in the Robbie Anderson, CMC, James Robinson, trades as well. Just kind of any feedback or thoughts you have on any of those trades? Anything that surprised you?
I don't know. I don't have much to say about him, honestly.
I'm gonna just kind of go through them just one by one, and I know you guys, we would just kind of put them on here because as we're recording this, some of these trades just happened, and just kind of give you some of my thoughts, and then to kind of hear what you guys kind of bounce as I say those things, bounce off of you. I'll start with Robbie Anderson. That happened a week ago, but I always think of Robbie Anderson as, I call him Fantasy Santa, and that's because come about Thanksgiving, he seems to take off, and I think that's going to work about right here. He's going to be the X receiver going. He's kind of a boundary X, and so he's out wide, and they're going to keep moving D-Hop more and more into the slot. I was surprised last week with Moore's usage being in the 90% of the snap share. So I do think that those are our 3 starting receivers on the team, when they're in 11 personnel, which I think that they run most of the time, or they're definitely in the top 5 of the NFL in 11 personnel. So I do think that fantasy-wise, Robbie Anderson will have a lot of skin on the bone, and he's probably a cheap get. So somebody, if I had a trade forward list, he'd be on it. Looking at CMC in San Francisco, I do think we might have seen his best game of the year, like in the rearview mirror last week. So as you're buying and selling CMC, keep that in mind. I think we saw his best game. The one that we just saw might be the best one that he has. I feel like San Francisco players come and go in spurts. Like they'll have this huge game, then they'll go away from him a game. I might be kind of scared to sell him. So just kind of know that even though he's old and probably get hurt and all those things are likely to happen, I don't want to sell him to my opponent and then he has a game equally as good or almost as good, because that feels really good. James Robinson, we may have even touched on him last week. I think he's going to keep getting more and more acclimated. I think the move to the Jets this year is probably better, probably not long term, but better this year for him. And so any of those James Robinson shares, I guess you wait for that big game and then you move on from him. Calvin Ridley, I've never been a fan. I've just never been a fan, and he's old. So I'll be anxious to see how Deshaun Watson does this year. And why I say that is think Calvin Ridley, older than Deshaun Watson, but out of football for 2 years, just like Deshaun Watson out of football for 2 years. So he's going to at least be that rusty. And then you got to add 3 years of age to him to be where he is. And I guess I think he surely isn't going to be better than Keenan Allen is this year. Like same age receiver. So that's what we got with him. So if you have a chance to sell him, if you own him, I think this is the time to get rid of him. Like right now, while there's a little hype going to the, I mean, I could see him being Allen Robinson, or like that's where he is. He's at the time when if you can get off the bus, I think I'd get off the bus, or off the train. Chase Claypool, I'm not a fan, but I guess he's the number 2. And I wonder if that doesn't affect Mooney in a big way as the number 1 of having a reasonable threat on the other side. Or maybe he's the guy that gets the increase. I see, Justin, you have something there.
Yes.
What do you think?
I definitely think Claypool will be the number 1 and Mooney the number 2. Just because of the skill set and playing outside. Phil's likes to roll out, get out of the pocket. So I think he's going to be targeted more, towards anywhere from 5 to 12 yards along the sidelines. Maybe some of the quick slants. Just because of his skill set and where he plays on the field, I definitely think he's going to be the number 1 receiver over Mooney now.
Okay. I mean, I guess I think that they may or may not move him inside to the slot, but, I'm not sure. I thought this year he played a little better in the slot this year for Pittsburgh, but I'm just not sure where the Bears envision him. I got to think, though, with giving up a second-round pick, that he's part of their plan. Like there's a reason they went and got him, and so just you can kind of tell by the roster move as opposed to. So I'm a little bit on the fence, and I've got to tell you, I'm pretty excited about my Mooney shares because I think there's at least somebody that can warrant some defensive coverage on the other side. So
exactly,
the double coverage is maybe coming to a close for Mooney. So I don't know. I've never thought he's been a high target. I liken Mooney to Gabe Davis in Buffalo as kind of a great number 2 as opposed to a number 1. So I'd be very happy if they targeted Claypool, but I don't know how much skin there is on the bone there. I guess I'm hopeful for some garbage time with a quarterback that scrambles. TJ Hawkinson, I'm going to have an unpopular thought here. I actually think that this is a downgrade for him fantasy-wise. It's probably an upgrade career-wise, everything else. But the days of him getting 7 to 9 targets a week are over. Like, I mean, you got to target Justin Jefferson as the main target guy. And I've got to think he's very similar to Irv Smith when Irv Smith was healthy, and that's a 4 target a week kind of player, and he's basically got into the 3 for 35 yard game range. And I mean, that'll be playoff, but I mean, they're going to target Cook. They're going to target, he's got to be at least the 3rd option, maybe the 4th after Thielen, as far as pass targets. And then KJ Osborne isn't bad. So, I mean, there's going to be games that he may be the 5th option in the passing game. And so, I just don't know that there's as much skin there. So I personally will probably look to sell while this is all hyped up. Like I'll probably the tail end of this week try to sell some shares and maximize on the profit. And if I had advice for people that watch this, Kyle Pitts might be a good buy with the Hawkinson. Get 3 years of age and a guy that nobody's really thinking about, and you'd probably be pretty happy if you would have made that trade a year ago. You would say there's no way you could make the trade. So fast forward a year, you might be able to get some age and get a pretty good player. So anyway, I digress. Kadarius Toney and KC. I do have a little intel on this. As most of you guys know, I have some insight into the KC situation, and I view this as a long-term play. He may have 1 or 2 good weeks this year, but it's really a long-term next year and beyond play. The goal of the team is to have Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney as the wideouts, and really they'd love to have Justin Ross be their 3. So they would really like to have those be the 3 guys that they build around long term. Juju and Hardman this year are in the final. They can get out of those contracts after this year. One's a 1-year contract, one's an ending contract, and MVS is on a really. They're only linked to him for 2 years, and then they're able to cut bait with very little cost. So their future. Now they may bring in other guys, but if they had to do their way, those would be the 3 receivers they build around. So look for them to be eased in slowly. And this year they'll ride out the vets while they have them, and that's kind of the plan there. Jeff Wilson to Miami. This is a classic. Coach comes from San Francisco. San Francisco has excess. Let's bring him in, and they moved Chase Edmonds to Miami, so that opened up a need. So he'll have the Chase Edmonds role. Like, it's pretty easy. Pretty easy to. He's Mostert insurance. That's definitely what Jeff Wilson is. Chase Edmonds in Denver. I think if you're like me and have Latavius Murray shares, you might be a little bit in trouble. I mean, I think my Latavius Murray shares took a little bit of hit today. So I may or may not. I don't have anything into them, so probably won't be able to sell them, but it is what it is. Nyheim Hines in Buffalo, don't understand the trade at all. So do you guys understand the trade? I feel like Singletary, Nyheim Hines, and Cook are all the same player. Cook probably has the most juice, and so I don't really understand what Singletary and Hines even bring to the table that Cook doesn't have, honestly. And Moss at least was a big thumper dude that could run between the tackles and be a closer. So that leads me to even Moss going to Indy. He's the same thing as Deion Jackson, and so I'm not sure that he even gets on the field there. I just don't even understand that trade. It doesn't make any sense to me, but that's kind of where it is. I think it's a good time for us to talk briefly about something on your show sheet, Justin, that you sent me. What was your quarterback thoughts in Atlanta this week? And is that why they're trying to solidify the running game with maybe they're going to run a 3-back offense? I don't know. I don't know what the heck they're doing, but what were your thoughts on the quarterback play? I didn't watch much football this week, so as of yet, I should get to some film tonight.
Yeah, and in Indy with Sam Ellinger, he looked not to be ready. He was very inconsistent, not setting his feet before through. He looked panicked. He looked like he was kind of afraid to be out there, trying to deal and kind of learn on the fly. Pretty much, it's kind of like a first-time rookie player trying to play the first NFL game. That's pretty much what it was, even though he's been in the league for a little while now. But I think they're going to go with him for the rest of the year to see what he can do. But if they can slow it down for him a little bit, I think he could start picking it up. But they also let go their offensive coordinator there. So things hopefully will change up for him, help slow it down for him a little bit, and definitely see more of a running game there. With that with Zach Moss there now, with the Jonathan Taylor and Deion Jackson there, I definitely see more of a run game to help slow it down for him.
Gotcha. And any updates from you, Brad, on the whole weekend that was, and anything that you want to, before we start to look at some of the teams that you did some interviewing?
Not much. We're ready to get into it.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Looking at Beat the Clowns this week, my score was 144.28. The winner this week of the ClownHead tournament was, it looks like GJL Reed with a 181.44. And he had Ellinger that we just talked about, and then Derrick Henry, who had that crazy week, and Pollard, and then Tyreek, Amon-Ra, Waddle. So had both Tyreek and Waddle. Irv Smith, who got hurt, and Dorsett, and then the Commanders on defense. And then a first-time player, Last Action Hero, jumped in and got second place this week. So only had 5 of us. So really going to do some recruiting this week and want to encourage people to get in. I think week 1 we had 18 of us. So looking to get back to that, that kind of a number, again. And want to just do a shout out. Justin must have had 2 lineups because he was the person that beat me this week with a 202.98. So, Justin, you got to put that lineup in the Beat the Clowns because that would have taken home the first place prize.
Yeah,
so, not sure what you did different, but
I set the lineups on different days. I set one lineup earlier in the week and one lineup I think the night before.
Which one was the winning one? Which one got 200 points?
I think it's the one I set up the week like earlier during the week.
So then I guess the more knowledge you have, it gets worse. Like you got to go.
Yes, exactly.
The first instinct is the right one. Like I actually, as much as we laugh about that, back when I didn't set my lineups to rankings, like I kind of set everything to a rankings. Like I personally rank players and then I just set the rankings and I don't worry about it. But I remember whenever I would switch guys, it was always wrong. Like I'd be like debating between 2 and I really tried to figure out who was going to score more points. I don't do that anymore. Right now, I just say, okay, I'm going to take the best player, the highest ranked player I have for this week, and I just go with them, and that's how I roll. Like it doesn't matter. Like I just play the numbers and I just keep going. But back when I used to try to set, I remember there was one time that Brad told me to take Patrick. A whole bunch of sites told me to take the guy from New England. Who's the receiver for New England, the slot receiver, PPR guy?
Myers?
Yeah, Jacoby Myers. And I think so. Brad told me Tim Patrick. Everybody, all the sites had Jacoby Myers, and I think I went with Mooney. And sure enough, actually Patrick, who I had in first, was the leader in the clubhouse that week, and I should have just left it alone. Like it was just dumb, like to make all those switches and I had enough good information with what my initial thought was. So I'm going to actually do some research and kind of try to really get those Beat the Clowns up to 10 this weekend. I have some time on Saturday, so be on the lookout for those that come out individually. I'm going to try to individually invite each of the Beat the Clowns, see if I can get it to work there. I'm just kind of wading through the process right now of it. I don't know. We're not getting the involvement that I like. So, want to give away some money. Want to get some people going against us and get some people in those, and we're going to talk it up in the chat. So, Justin, any help you can do. Brad, you ought to jump in. It's $10. Give your $10 to me. So,
yeah, I'm pretty much a donation.
Yeah, I'm definitely a donation. So that's how it is. Looking at the Elite 8 this week and have predictions. We upgraded the predictions, but just to kind of give a total on where we are, I came back with a vengeance last week. If you remember, I had 0 points because I didn't get anything right. And Brad with 7 was the leader in the clubhouse. This week, I was a leader in the clubhouse, and I'm the first person to get to 4 weeks in top spot. I had 25 points, which is the all-time high of anybody. And Justin had 14 and Brad with 11. So, I guess I feel like I'm getting better. My initial gut reactions were better. Looking at our midterm election, things, I had 13 and Justin had 9. So we actually got worse with if we look at our mid-season projections. Justin, compared to where we were at the beginning on this week. So just looking at the top scores and just to go run through them pretty quickly, and then we'll have Brad talk about the top scorer in the league. But Division A, the FFP president, 314.88, 5-3 record overall in the 5 spot, so not in the final playoff, the big playoff hunt. Division C, Miller Time, 80-49 with a 288.52 score, 6-2 overall record, number 2 in the league. So heading off to the big playoffs if the season were to end today. Division D, Bumpskis with 283.85, a 6-2 overall record, number 4 spot. Division E, JSL 111 with a 324.56 score, 7-1 overall, number 1 in the division. So he's got the top spot. Division F, River AD 98, 230.28, so a little bit less on the score there. 4-4 overall record, number 6. So in the divisional playoffs are heading that way. Division G, Cellar Dweller, 303.53, a 6-2 record overall in the number 2 spot. And Division H, Zeke 123 with a 249.39, 5-3 overall record, number 4 in that division. And then our top spot was 808 Ryden with a 329.70, so only 4 scores over 300 this week. 5-3 overall, number 4 in the division. And I know Brad, spoke with him a little bit this week. And what do you think of his team? I didn't even get a chance to take a look at the team, Brad, but what do you think of his team, and what did he think so far about his team heading to the big playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, his team had a great week. He had a lot of the players that kind of went off this week. Dak had a great game for him. Tyreek Hill had a great game for him. AJ Brown and DJ Moore all went off, so his receivers kind of anchored him. And then his tight ends, Ertz, Evan Ingram, and Tyler Conklin also went off. He was able to do that all while taking a 0 with Logan Thomas in his flex still. So I kind of asked him if he would be able to keep this up for the rest of the year, and he said that he's more excited now, honestly, because he's been putting up a couple good weeks lately, and now he's got Herbert off his bye, and Connor's coming back from injury soon, and he thinks he's going to be looking good here.
Well, and just kind of looking at what he's got, I mean, Nyheim Hines, I mean, he's probably pretty excited about maybe the role in Buffalo. I mean, it's definitely a better offense there.
Yeah.
He had him starting with 15 points, so that might be something that makes some sense. I was looking to see who we had. Mucho and Oogie Boogie, both 6-2 in the top 2 spots, so he's at 5-3. So he's only 1 game behind those top 2 spots. So I mean, I guess one win to make up ground, and if he keeps scoring those kind of points, he might get the tiebreaker. So really, off and running. He does have 3 quarterbacks, so he has Tom Brady, Justin Herbert, and Dak that are all starting, and healthy and still playing, so he can withstand, the bye weeks coming up of Dak in week 9. I guess that's why he has him on the bench, but he still has Brady and Herbert in this week, so he'll be able to, really put forth a decent effort as far as that goes. Looking at ClownHeads 1 through 5, ClownHeads 2, SMRIT 8 with a 244.65, a 4-4 record in 5th place. ClownHeads 3, JSL 111, 280.20, 6-2 record in 3rd place. ClownHeads 4, David ER 1, 268.51, a 3-5 overall record in 7th place, so making that playoff push. And ClownHeads 5, Kerwin 17, 286.36, 6-2 record in 2nd place. And then the top scorer was in ClownHeads 1, Jim's Instant Karma, a 280.58, 6-2 overall, number 2. Brad, what did you think of his team, and how did how did his team stack up? And no, kind of the first time ever that we didn't have any Jack Powers on any of these lists, right? I mean, Jack is
Yeah.
not here. He has left the building. This is.
Crazy.
I think I think every week so far we've got a Jack Powers sighting in 7 weeks. This is our first time that he's not somewhere. So.
Yeah. But yeah, he had a pretty good team. He kind of got carried by a couple guys instead of his whole team, unlike Ryden in the other league. He had Pollard who went off for him. Diggs had a good game. Amari Cooper and D-Hop had all had great games. I'm surprised he had the most points in the league with his top 2 tight ends combining for 12 points. In a league like this, it's honestly mind-blowing to me.
Well, and he had Waller in the flex, and it looks like, and he had Logan Thomas too. So he also has Logan Thomas. It's kind of an interesting correlation.
Yeah. Apparently taking that 0 gets you the most points.
Apparently. Neither of these guys have first-round picks next year. Just kind of a point of emphasis. So they better win. I mean, man, that's scary. If you have no picks, I can't imagine feeling like that situation. Especially in an empire league where you gotta, win a couple years in a row to really hit it hard. He is in second place, so Jason Parro is 7-1 in that division in the top spot. Want to just kind of do a shout out. We're down to one 8-0 team in Division C in the Elite 8, and that's the Draft Guru. So he's in first place, and he's pulled ahead by 2 games over Miller Time, who's 6-2. So that's 1 point of emphasis. And then in ClownHead 3, we also have Jack Powers at 8-0, and so hasn't lost yet. Corporation 24 at 7-1 in the 2 spot. So, there is, he is 1 game behind there, but we have 2 undefeated teams going on currently. So that's, some interesting, items there. But especially in the Elite 8, where only 2 teams, move on to the larger tournament. Things are starting to separate now. And are you guys seeing the zeros that people are taking in the quarterback position? It feels like things are changing now. I don't know if you've watched some of the leagues and how teams maybe that are in the 4 spot start to fall back to the 6 spot and the 8 spot, and there's some differences that are happening. And even sometimes with a win, they drop because the total points drop, and it drops them in and out of the playoffs just by taking zeros in those spots. So it seems like it's coming to it's starting to matter. It's starting to catch up with the teams that don't have those quarterbacks. So, I was looking, and we had, it looks like 8 backup quarterbacks that started in week 8, and we have 5 returning starters that weren't there the whole year. So we're up to 13 quarterback changes thus far, without getting into the third stringers. We did have we had 2 third stringers play with Bailey Zapp and Skylar Thompson. So we did have a couple third stringers also in the mix, which would be 15 quarterback changes so far this year. So, we're off and running, and things are beginning to tighten up. This week, 4 bye weeks in week 9 coming up. We have the Steelers, the Browns, the Broncos, the Cowboys, and the Giants. So all their players are on bye this week. Looking at I'm jumping around here a little bit, so forgive me. But looking at ClownHead's redraft 1, D-Rec 22 with a 264, 6-2 record, number 2 overall. And then ClownHead's redraft number 2, Fantasy Clown, so that's me with a 296.48, 5-3 overall record, but in the number 2 spot as well. So that's kind of how those redrafts are coming out. Wanted to take a moment as I just kind of, it's at a point where after week 8, I personally really dive into my teams, as I have a really good feel now for whether they're for real or not. I really feel like this after week 8. I really feel like this is the time when I start to look at, are they 2 games or less towards the playoffs? Like I feel like it can always make up 2 games, and is it likely that they will, or are my teams out of it and basically we're getting ready for tea times on those teams, or am I in the playoffs, or how close am I to the buys? Getting the bye weeks, and so I'm really looking at that. And I've been very patient, as you guys have probably seen, looking at trades. And as we look at the trades of this week, to this point, haven't made tons of trades, but just kind of want to echo before we look at the trades that Justin picked out, that this is when I really look to trade and add to the team. So I think this is the time when you can really begin to shape your team. If you're a seller, you kind of know now. And you have a good feel, like if you look around the league, I feel like I have a good idea of how teams are going to finish. I have a pretty good idea now. Who are the playoff teams, who are the last place teams, and then who are the fringe teams. Like I have a pretty good idea. Mid-round picks, late round picks, and early picks. Like I know pretty much what I'm trading for now, and so I feel like now when I'm buying draft picks, I have a good idea. Before, in week 5, I didn't know. I didn't know how the bye weeks were going to happen and how it was all going to go. We're going to just grab a look at the trades first, and then I guess I do want to ask you about your teams. So we're going to first take a look at the first trade, Justin, that you brought up. It looks like Miles Sanders and a first, and St. Brown, first St. Brown and a second. Which side of this trade would you want to be on, Justin? Which is your kind of side?
I was kind of neutral in this trade. At first, I'd rather have the young receiver over a kind of an aging running back. But I think overall, as of right now, I would take the Miles Sanders and that 2023 first round pick.
Do you have any idea what how early or late that first round is? And I'm looking I'm scurrying to look real quick here because I'm in this league. Brad, what are your thoughts? Which side do you want to be on this trade?
I think it would depend on if the pick was early or late. If it's early, I'd probably want the Sanders side. If it's late, I think I'd want the St. Brown side, honestly.
Okay, so we got the first place team. That is the Jason Powero pick. He's 7-1, and the fourth place team at 5-3. That's sending the first round pick. So the first round pick is the fourth place team, and so they're going to be late. They're going to be late first. They're going to be late first, late second. So you're looking at pick 8 and pick 20. Let's call it.
Yeah, I think
the best case scenario probably.
I think I'd take the St. Brown side. In that case, honestly, I think 2023 second isn't that far off anyway, so I don't think it makes that much of a difference in that case. And I don't think Sanders is long in the NFL. So
I almost think that I'd take the side that I need or not make a trade. Like, in other words, if I needed a running back to stay in it this year to try to go make some money, I guess I'll take the first. And if I need a receiver, then I could do without the running back. Even if I don't need a receiver, if I could do without the running back, I guess I don't know. If I needed the running back, I guess I'd have to, I'd take the first and run. Otherwise, I'm not sure I want to give up my first. I guess the only side I won't be the Miles Sanders side, but it would only be if I needed a running back. Like, I wouldn't be very interested in getting rid of St. Brown because I could see him being a stud. Like, that would hurt me. But the second round is kind of like I don't care about it. But yeah, that would be tough for me. This is one of those ones that I'll be anxious to see how it rolls out. Like, I'd be afraid to be wrong. I think I wouldn't want to make this trade. I'd be afraid to be wrong. That's the moral of the story. Big trade here. This one is Dak, Rush, and Henderson. And we think Henderson might be the number one. And then Devontae, 2 firsts and a second. Yeah, which side do you want, Justin?
On this trade, this is the kind of trade that you want to try to get back for Dak Prescott. But with these Zeke's 23 picks are going to be also late round pick. So especially since he's getting a quarterback in which he's needing. So I would definitely take the Dak Prescott side on this one.
Okay. What about you, Brad? What do you want on this side?
I don't think I'd make the trade, honestly. I mean, I don't even know. I don't think it's that good of a trade, honestly.
In my mind, Rush is like a throw-in. Henderson's a throw-in. Maybe a little better than that. I think I want the Devonta Smith, and my theory is that Devonta Smith was a first-round pick. I think he's at least as good as he was when we picked him in the first round. And so I'm getting 3 firsts and a second for Dak, and I'm kind of clearing out some roster space. So call it 3 firsts, have the second for Henderson, Rush as a throw-in, waiver wire ad. I think I'm taking the side, but I think I want the Riverbed DP side, and I'm gonna low-key pray for an injury to Dak and Henderson to lose the job so the picks become better. Like, I mean, I think I want that side. The only caveat I guess I'd say to that is if I needed Dak to win, like this year, I wouldn't trade away money. But if I could, this would probably, in my mind, this would set a quarterback market where I want it. So because I always own quarterbacks, I wouldn't mind making a trade because I could say, well, Dak brought me 3 first-round picks. So now what's your idea of, Tua? Now what is he worth? More than that, right? Kind of thing. Like, okay, so now my assets go up in value, and I guess I'd probably go that direction. Last trade. Oh, JDM got a trade here. So we're going to break down Justin's trade. That's perfect.
I did.
AJ Dillon's side or the Terrence Marshall side? I'm going to come to you last, Justin, because you made the trade. So, Brad, what's your take on this trade at face value?
I'll take the Dillon side all day long, honestly. I don't think Terrence Marshall is that guy. I think you got a good deal there.
I think I'll take the Dillon side as well. I think somebody like Marshall, and he might be a thing. He got fair amount of target share last week, so he's playing a lot of snaps. Is still running less snaps that are less routes run than Shi Smith, so he is running less routes than Shi Smith. But his role may increase. This might be his break. Chenault ran more routes than him as well, so he is third or fourth on the team in routes run. So that just he is kind of there. He is playing a high percentage of snaps though. It's just that he's asked to block. So, but apparently they like him for that, so that's a good thing to keep him on the field. So, that's kind of good. They're not taking him off for a inline tight end substitution package. So, Justin, why did you make the trade, and were you happy with the trade?
I was thrilled. I got this trade late at night, about 11 p.m. Central Time, and I thought, wow, excuse me, what a trade offer for me. I would love to have AJ Dillon for Terrence Marshall. My first thought was this could be a mistake, so I waited till the following almost early afternoon to finally accept it in case he wanted to rescind it. But he was needing a wide receiver from when I looked at his roster. And so this, I think the reason why the week that he had 6.1 points, played 86% of the snaps, 2 or 3 receptions for 31 yards. So he's finally getting used. And this last week he had he went 4 of 9, 87 yards for 14.7 points. So he had a pretty good uptake in his usage this past week. So if he's happy, I'm happy. My plan is to hopefully flip AJ Dillon for at least a pick and maybe not a player whenever Aaron Jones gets hurt, because I think he will, because they are sure running a lot with these running backs since Aaron Rodgers not on the same page with his young wide receiver core there.
Yeah, really. I thought it was a great trade for you. I mean, I would almost wonder if anybody on the chat responded but I guess I think I can understand it. I can understand the trade, and also I think you got a little bit of help. There's a couple of the national media people that are really down on AJ Dillon, and maybe even Jeff Ratcliffe is one of those people that thinks that he's or John Hansen, one of the national guys is really down on AJ Dillon and doesn't like him, or is kind of soured on him, and so it's possible that somebody heard that, ran away with it, and said, okay, it's time to cut bait. And sometimes you can scoop up what I think are value, but then sometimes you get people like Cam Akers I was high on, and everybody was down on, and then I'm sitting there holding the bag. So it can go both ways, but I guess I think that your acquisition cost to sell Marshall is so low that almost anything is an improvement, and AJ Dillon quite easily could turn into a first round pick, and at minimum a second and a third, and you probably would have to have the game of his life from Terrence Marshall to get a second and a third. Just realistically, and so I think that makes a lot of sense. There. So I'm in the process, and this will be interesting, and just kind of throw it out there, of trying to acquire a quarterback, a rental quarterback. I have a lot of week 9 quarterbacks on my team. And so on a couple of my teams, I mean, if you guys know, I have a lot of Kenny Pickett, and then if you throw in there Daniel Jones and Jimmy G, like there's a lot of teams that I have all 3 of those guys on my team, and now all of a sudden I'm scurrying for bye week replacements. If Wentz is hurt, or Lance is hurt, or somebody else that I have is hurt, I'm scrambling, and I'm trying to acquire like the Mariota types or the PJ Walker types, and we're gonna see how cheap I can acquire them in leagues not affiliated with the ClownHeads. And I've offered I have a trade out there involving Josh Jacobs, for instance. So like pretty good player for a rental quarterback. Now I'm not doing it even up, but we'll see. We'll see where that goes. Like I have an offer out there that I'm sending Josh Jacobs and some throw-in guys, and I'm looking for PJ Walker back, and I'm hoping to get like a first-round pick out of the deal. Like can I get PJ Walker and a first-round pick for Josh Jacobs? I mean, I feel like Josh Jacobs is a reasonable player. Yeah. I tried to throw for Mariota. I tried to sell Algier, and I couldn't get it done with that. So, that's kind of how it is. And again, this is not a ClownHeads league, so it's not where people are like thinking that I'm like gung ho quarterback guy. This is just a regular generic league out there, and I'm struggling to buy a quarterback. So, for all those people that wonder about quarterback pricing, I'm in the buyer's market and I'm struggling. So, I mean, I don't really want to sell Swift or Jonathan Taylor or my high end running backs, but I felt like you know, yeah, I wasn't really a Walker. I mean, those three I kind of have as untouchables, but you know, I want to see if I can maneuver. The other player that I think is time to buy, just before we depart, is if you can buy Hall or buy Javonte Williams. I think those are good buys right now. So if you have any teams that are maybe not doing so well, this might be the time to scoop in and buy them when you sell like James Conner types, you know, or maybe somebody off a big week, Alvin Kamara. You might get Breece Hall and something, you know, that can make a lot of sense, you know, even if you got like a low end Jerry Jeudy and Javonte for Alvin Kamara off of the big game, something like that, you know, could make a lot of sense on a team that you're rebuilding with. So, you know, that would be some recommendations out there. Do you guys have anything before we go and get to the World Series? As we're recording this, it's World Series time. I'm a Phillies fan, so.
Well, I hope the Astros beat the Phillies.
Yeah, I guess you're closer to the Astrosville. I have a prop bet under Altuve a half a hit, so I can't let him get a hit tonight. I'm getting plus money on that, so I'm all over that. Under a half a hit.
Yeah, and one more thing, I want everyone to come join us in our DraftKings and take my money. Apparently, I'm giving away for free now, so just come get it.
Or beat the 202 point that he didn't put in. He had the lineup, he just didn't put it in. So, you know, you can come take his money because he obviously doesn't even start the lineup that he has. He just plays it against me, and then so you know beats me. So I think I funded the whole mess this week. So yeah, I want to encourage that. Brad, anything from you as we depart?
Not much.
All right, quiet tonight. So we will see you guys after week 9. Have a successful week 9, and we'll see you on the other side after the Phillies are world champions. And for now, I'm Ed. That's Brad and Justin. We'll see you next week.